Perhaps this Sonic the Hedgehog movie will give video game movies a new life? Nothing? Really? Man, fuck you guys, they can't all be winners. So Sonic the Hedgehog tells the story of Sonic, our talking, lovable hedgehog, teaming up with a town sheriff to escape the evil clutches of Dr. Robotnik. What's up, guys? A little backstory for me. Sonic the Hedgehog is actually the video game that got me into video games. You guys know I'm a gamer. I don't do too many video game reviews because there's not too many throughout the year that I actually have the time to finish, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Mrs. Pac-Man were the first video games that I ever got. I think I was either 3 years old or 4 years old. Woke up one morning on my birthday, my dad got me the SEGA Genesis and those two games, and I was a Sonic freak for the entire era of SEGA Genesis. I had Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic Spinball, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I played a few of the more modern ones like when they were on GameCube, and you know, the not so good ones that came out later on, I kind of avoided. But Sonic has been in the video game culture consciousness for a while. He's never gotten quite to the heights of Mario, but he's always been there, you know what I mean? Especially for people that grew up on Sega, he's always been one of the more prominent video game figures. And so we get this film, and though it's not necessarily directed at me, the Sonic fan in me got really excited and was really curious at what they were going to be able to bring to the screen with these characters. So was this a pleasant surprise, or is this just another one of the many video game movies that will go down in mediocrity or straight up shit bombs? Well, before I get into it, please like and share this video if you enjoy it. If you're new to this channel and not already a subscriber and you enjoy this video, click that subscribe button because there's a lot more on this channel that you're going to continue to enjoy. And if you enjoy it so much that you want to help contribute to this channel, check the video description down below for the link to my Patreon page. It's the best way to help this channel grow and to contribute to what I do as a creator, not only with helping me out financially, but also with giving me ideas or giving me review requests if you're at a certain tier. A lot of cool things to check out, things that are for patron eyes only, so please click that link down below if you are interested. For everybody else, let's get into Sonic the Hedgehog. So the first positive thing about this film that I have to say is that they do nail the character of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, for the most part, and I mean, like I said, I haven't played a lot of the modern games, Sonic was always a silent character. He was just literally an avatar. So there wasn't like this strong personality that they had to nail or they had a huge guideline, but as far as the personality that they do give Sonic, it does feel like it's natural to the character. The voice acting is good, the design is good, which, whew, thank God for that shit, boy, because there was a bad design of this hedgehog when the first trailer hit. It was this huge controversy. The trailer came, there was like weird human teeth. It just looked terrible. I mean, already you're on guard because it's a video game movie. Already you're on guard because it looks like, you know, the Yogi Bear Smurfs direction to take Sonic the Hedgehog. But then you look at the design of Sonic and you're like, my God, just shoot it in the head already. And for one of the debatable biggest moves that a studio has done as far as responding to fan backlash, they paused the movie, they delayed it until this year, and they went to back to the drawing board and redesigned Sonic from the ground up, and the design that they came up with is 100,000 times better. Ow! But Sonic's a fun character, you know, he's kind of got like that preteen personality to where, you know, he's excitable, he's fun to be around. He's also very energetic. I mean, for something that's going to be running around like that, you expect that in his personality. They also kind of inject a little bit of pop culture awareness into him where, you know, he's watching Speed and he likes Dennis Hopper's character so much that he starts taking lines from that movie and using it in real life. And it's just, for somebody that enjoys movies, that pop culture thing really hits home, but it's just a fun personality for a character like this. It's geared towards kids, so I think kids will enjoy his personality, but as somebody that loves the character and grew up on him, this personality felt like Sonic. Probably the biggest thing that most people walking out of this film are going to praise, especially adults, is Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik.
I'm going to give you 5 seconds to tell me where it is.
Wait, don't hurt him!
This is the most Jim Carrey has been Jim Carrey since the late 90s, early 2000s. You know, he's taken some different turns in his career in the later part of it. You know, even nowadays, you don't really see him that often. And this feels like that Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, Liar Liar era of Jim Carrey, and it's awesome to see him back. This is the type of thing where I'm like, all right, do more stuff like this, Jim. You're great whenever you do things like, you know, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I loved you in Kick-Ass 2, even though apparently you didn't love you in Kick-Ass 2, but doing things like this is what you expect from Jim Carrey, and he really does bring this movie to life with his character. You know, Robotnik is an evil dude. There's no redeeming qualities about him whatsoever. There's no sympathetic side to him. He's just a full-on intolerant douchebag that is the protagonist or the antagonist of this film from the get, as soon as he's on screen all the way to the end, and you just have a blast watching him. That zany, crazy, over-the-top personality that Jim Carrey has, it fits the character, and it's just fun to see. For us adults that grew up on the old classic Jim Carrey in the 90s and have missed that era of Jim Carrey so much, who would have thought Sonic the Hedgehog would bring him back? I also like the little bit of world building that we get in this. It is a very small piece of the movie, so for some it's probably not going to be noteworthy at all, and some might even have it in the negative that we don't get more of that, but the movie opens up showing kind of the origin of Sonic and how he came to be and how he came to Earth. And when it was kind of focusing on that, showing his world and showing the island that, you know, has the little loop-de-loops and everything that looks straight out of the video game, and you get to see, you know, little Easter eggs of other species or whatever you want to call them from the Sonic the Hedgehog characters, it was cool. It was heartwarming for somebody that loves these video games and grew up on them to see that world brought to life. And, you know, the whole thing where he can throw a ring and it kind of opens up a portal to different zones or different dimensions or whatever you want to call it. It was just a cool little element in there that was, it brought a smile to my face, and it also excites me that if this movie is successful enough, there's so much of a sandbox that they can literally play with in sequels that it kind of lifted the movie up a little bit more for me, seeing stuff like that brought to life. What could be in more sequels. In my final positive, the movie does have a pretty good sense of humor. There wasn't a lot of like laughing out loud moments for me necessarily. For kids, there certainly is. Like pretty much every single time there was a laugh moment or a joke that was meant to kind of get the theater going. In my theater at least, you would hear every single kid in the theater just erupt into laughter, and maybe one or two adults, but there is some spots that will still make you laugh if you were an adult. There's one in an elevator especially that's just a hilarious situation, but there's enough of a good adolescent style humor that doesn't devolve itself into the lowest common denominator, that low-hanging fruit of humor that we see in a lot of movies like this with like poop and fart jokes. It doesn't devolve itself to that low. It's humor that kids can get into and adults can smile at through pretty much the entire movie.
World's largest rubber band ball? We gotta see it!
No, this is not some fun family road trip.
You're right. It was lame. Gift shop was cool, though.
Moving into my mixed aspects, there's really just one overarching thing, and that's the fact that this is a movie that's geared towards kids. Like, I enjoyed this movie overall. I'm a Sonic fan. It brought Sonic to life. There was a lot of nice Easter eggs. I had fun with Robotnik, all the things that I just got done telling you about. But this movie is definitely geared towards kids. This is geared towards my kids, their age. Like, they loved it. They had an absolute blast. I think between the time I walked out of the theater to opening up the door to my truck, my daughter told me that that was an amazing movie like 4 or 5 times just in that short 3-minute walk. But as an adult, this is one of those kiddie kind of styled movies that doesn't necessarily appeal to adults on the level that, say, some of the Pixar films do, where adults can rewatch it just as much as a kid can because there's so much there. This is definitely something that is geared towards kids. It's marketed towards kids. It's written for kids. It's brought to life to, you know, be something that kids can absorb and understand and can follow along the plot with, which is very simple. And adults can enjoy the ride if they're a fan of Sonic, but this is probably a movie that, while I enjoy it, I don't think I'm going to rewatch it anytime soon because it's not a movie for me. Now the negatives. The story, the whole setup, this like road trip thing, it's a type of story that we've seen 100,000 times. Even this direction of kind of mixing Sonic in with the live action world with James Marsden and these other characters, like I joked earlier, it's that Yogi Bear Smurfs direction that we've seen a lot of different animated characters go. It rarely works out. I think it works pretty well here for what they do with it, but I just can't help but feel like if you would have had Sonic playing in his world, like that world they showed in the beginning with Tails and Knuckles and all the other characters, that this movie could have been awesome. It could have still appealed to kids. It could have still been marketed towards kids, but even as an adult, I think I would have preferred the full-on animated world of Sonic versus just taking the animated Sonic and putting him in this real live-action world. It's a weird mix that I just don't feel like was necessary for this character. And it's to the point where even though I really enjoyed Jim Carrey as Robotnik, if they go to a sequel, I'm fine if Jim Carrey is the only human character that we have going forward. Kind of going along with that, the movie is very cliched, the movie is very trope heavy, like you see everything coming around the corner. There's not a whole lot of tension in the story of them being chased on this, road trip, escaping from Robotnik. There's not any twists or turns along the way. I mean, you could watch the movie and in 5 minutes predict exactly where the next 90 minutes are gonna go, and you're gonna be right. And that's just something that kind of comes along with the territory of a kid movie, but for this, like I said, I think there's things that they could have done to surprise us a little bit more aside from the nice little Easter eggs that they threw in here and there and the very cool teases that they have in the mid-credit scenes. Make sure you stick around for those. The story just doesn't really have anything new or anything inventive that makes this stand out from the 100 other movies that have the same exact setup and plot. And while I definitely think that this setup of putting Sonic in this live-action world works pretty well in this, it didn't offend me, it didn't make it unwatchable like some of the other movies like Smurfs and Yogi Bear and that whole collection of bleh movies. James Marsden, his wife, basically every other human character aside from Dr. Robotnik, they're okay. I mean, they're good actors. They were acted well. They weren't embarrassing, but there's just nothing about these characters that stood out. There's not really like a story arc or a character arc that you can kind of follow along with that makes you just as interested in James Marsden as you are with Sonic. He's just kind of along for the ride when your focus, both emotionally and visibly, is on Sonic the entire movie. And whenever Sonic's not doing something Sonic focused, the movie's just kind of on life support, I guess. It's monotone. There's just not a whole lot going on that gets you excited if you're an adult. And the last thing that I'll say is not necessarily a negative against this movie. It's kind of something that should be obvious, but some people are gonna ask. So here's your answer. If you are not a Sonic fan or a young child, you have no reason to watch this film. There's not gonna be anything in here you're gonna enjoy. Like it's something that most kids, if not all kids, will enjoy. And adults will only enjoy if you have some kind of a nostalgic love for Sonic. Otherwise, this is just gonna be a movie that you're going to suffer through so that your kids can enjoy themselves, and you're gonna suffer through while they rewatch it at home on Netflix, and it's just never gonna be one of those movies that you can actually say you enjoy. So if you're not a Sonic fan, you're not gonna be a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog movie. But overall, guys, keeping in mind that this is a kid-centric movie, it's a movie that's geared towards kids, and it's a movie that is created for kids, of which I am not, obviously, I did enjoy this film. I enjoyed it for the most part. I liked kind of going along the ride with this character that I have a lot of nostalgic love for. It gave some little teases and some Easter eggs to the world that I used to inhabit for hours at a time as a kid that actually excites me to the point that I probably would watch a sequel. But this is not a movie that I'm gonna rewatch anytime soon. It's not a movie where I'm gonna be jumping for joy waiting for the sequel. Just when it's announced, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll take my kids to go see that one too, I guess. It's a decent enough time at the movies. Just doesn't do anything really above delivering a enjoyable version of this character that I love. So if you have kids, it's definitely a good time to take them with, but if you're an adult that has that nostalgic love for Sonic, you'll probably enjoy the Sonic parts of it. Everything else is gonna feel like a very mediocre movie that you've seen 100 times. So know who you are before you check this thing out. And if you don't have kids that are gonna be screaming for you to take them to the theaters, just hang out at home and wait for this to hit online and stream it. So what did you guys think of Sonic the Hedgehog? Did you have fun with this one? Did you used to play the video games? Which one is your favorite Sonic video game? Let me know that in the comment section below. And are you looking forward to a sequel? Do you feel like they teased enough cool stuff to possibly make a better film? Do you think it's going to be successful enough for that? Or is this a one and done and you're good? What's your favorite video game movie too? Let me know that. Mortal Kombat, anybody? Anyway, let me know all that in the comment section below. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button. And remember, as always, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.